Welcome back. This is episode 22 of the Guardian Project podcast. I'm your host, Andy, and here in Michigan, all of our lands are snow-covered lands.
Oh, they really are.
Hashtag Pure Michigan.
And I'm your co-host, Mike Coyle. And sometimes when I'm playing Commander, I feel like Child of Alara because I'm a big baby that just wants to destroy everything.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Please listen carefully.
And this is the podcast where we talk about all things Magic the Gathering.
But mostly Commander.
What do we have on the agenda today?
Today, we're going to talk about the new mystery boosters that were revealed at the latest GP Richmond.
GP Richmond.
And we also are going to go over what one of our listeners contact us about and kind of getting into the Commander format, Commander for Newbies.
Thank you, Cosmic Library, for that topic. So mystery boosters revealed last week. Pretty exciting, and this might mean that Commander players are going to get some special cards that we haven't seen before, and some reprints of cards that we are excited to see reprinted.
Definitely.
So there are 1,800 cards available.
That's in this set.
So it's meant to be drafted as like a chaos draft. It's we've all grabbed 3 random packs and you draft with it, and then you just grab a bunch of different cards. But these are actually randomized from a ton of cards in Magic's past, but no reserve list cards.
Right. I mean, it's pulling from Commander sets and standard sets and modern sets. I mean, it's literally everything.
And vintage sets.
Oh, yeah. With the old border, which I know love old border so much.
My least favorite border. New border or bust.
There's an all-white border deck. That would be great.
You can erase. People do that. They actually take an eraser to the black border, and you can just erase the black border and make them all white border.
I don't think I'm going to go that
far. That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
To ruin a card by adding a white border. I go so as far as I won't use a sleeve for my card if the inside of the sleeve is white.
If the inside of the sleeve is white.
Yeah, so like I generally use Dragon Shields.
Correct.
Because if you're using like an orange sleeve, it's just a clear front, but it's the inside the card, like when you're looking at your card in your hand, the edge is orange. There's a lot of sleeves where it's got like a picture on the back, and when you look at it, it's a white border because the inside of it is a white border.
I gotcha.
I won't use those.
Yeah, I don't use those either, but I'm hashtag petrol for life. Dragon Shield.
I like Mist, the gray ones.
Mist is fine, I guess.
That's what the cube's in. Mist.
Your cube's good. I'll give you that.
And so of these cards, though, there are 1,694 reprints and then 121 unique copies of something that is special or could be new in 2 different versions of boosters. So there's a convention booster, and then there's a Wizards Play Network WPN edition that we'll be able to get at stores. So unless you're going to a GP, you can't play with the convention boosters because they're not going to be sold to us.
Right. And I know we talked about this a little bit in our group chat about, if you showed up to GP Richmond and you saw these mystery boosters draft and you're like, oh, I'm going to go be part of that and see these really cool cards. And then in this slot at the convention were these playtest cards, which does seem fun. I think I'd be a little bit upset if I didn't know about it ahead of time, quite honestly.
Sure, because they are not constructed legal.
Correct.
So you can only use them in that draft.
But some of them did. I mean, it would be really fun to draft with them.
I want to play Time Sidewalk, which is if it's in your hand at the beginning I believe if it's in your hand at the beginning of the game, you can exile it and then you shuffle 4 tokens into your deck that are time warp.
Time walk.
Is it time walk?
Yeah, time walk.
Yeah. So 1 and a blue take an extra turn, but you make tokens based on a spell and you shove them into your deck.
Seems a bit broken.
Obviously.
4 copies of this power into my deck real quick.
So they're playtest cards that actually never made it into print, but they thought it would be fun to put in there. There's a couple of Planeswalkers, like a new Tybalt. There's a Tybalt. There's a Kaya in there. But they're only available at those GPs. I'm sure they're going to command a pretty heavy price in the future. Yeah. Because they're very limited quantity.
And they would be fun. However, in the
WPN edition.
Yes, your local brick and mortar. You'll be able to get in that slot a foil.
121 cards that can be in foil. We don't know what they are yet. And I'm hoping they're cards that were never in foil. like a basalt monolith.
Is that the one you choose? That's your card.
That's never been in foil before. That'd be great because I play basalt monolith.
My card is very underwhelming. So as you know, I don't like foils.
Coyle. I like foils. Coyle doesn't play foils.
I don't play foils. The only place,
except his commander. Right?
The only place I would be willing to play foil is my commander, sans Kokusho in my mono black deck because he was my commander and I didn't want to get another copy of him. So he's in my.
But you opened
a
foil.
I opened a foil, an Iconic Masters. That was the best card I opened in that set. It was a garbage box, but I got my Kokusho, so I was happy. My card would actually be Keurig from the commander set in foil.
Sure, a new one.
Yeah,
that's never been in foil. Right, obviously.
Right.
It's only been around for like a month and a half. Feels like
that's what
it's been around for a bit more than a month and a half, I guess.
It's a little underwhelming, but it's like one of my favorite black cards right now.
I mean, I'd also be happy with like I have 2 cards in my Noyandar deck that were never printed in foil, so that'd be cool. Like Equinox, not a good card. It's for 1 white. You enchant a land, and you can tap that land to counter a spell or an ability that would destroy land you control. It's almost unplayable. But in Noyandar,
it's fantastic.
Top notch. Never been reprinted, not reserve list. Oh, we also need to add no reserve list cards confirmed. They're not putting reserve list cards in these groups of 121.
Thank you.
So we wanted to look at those reprints though, because it could mean that big things are coming, obviously, for the commander format. And some of those foils, depending on what comes in foil, could also command a significantly high price.
Huge price.
Huge price. So we each decided to pick 5 cards that were reprinted.
I picked 22 cards.
He couldn't pare his list down. I said, can you pare your list down to 5 because we don't have time to go over 22 cards? And he goes, I'll let you read your 5, and then I'll tell you if your 5 were on my list, and then I'll just pick my favorites from my list of 5.
Yep.
So that's what we're going to do.
Yep.
So these are the cards that we are most excited about being reprinted in the mystery boosters. So the first one for me is Thought Vessel.
Thought Vessel is not on my list. So that's super good, though.
Yeah, it's a reprint that has Reliquary Tower on it. It's a rock that taps. It's 2, taps for 1, and has you have no maximum hand size. Great reprint. Played in a ton of commander decks, and having no max hand size, super important.
Yeah, it's a fantastic card. Very underrated, in my opinion. People don't like it because it only taps for 1 generic, but its static ability and the fact that it is a rock is fantastic.
Sure. And I will say that extra ability is good and a reason to play it, but I just recently watched a video of someone talking about wasting mana on rocks that tap for less mana than you have to pay to put into them. Over time, they might do you some good, but like Commander Sphere gets a lot of crap, I think, because you pay 3 to tap for 1.
Yeah.
You can tap it for any color, and you can stack it to draw a card, but you are paying 3 to get 1. So there's that. The next card that I have is Alhammarret's Archive.
On the list.
So if you draw a card, you draw twice that many cards. No, you draw an extra card, right? Or is it you draw twice that many?
If you would draw a card, except the first one you draw on each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead.
Right, and then it also says if you gain life, you gain twice that much life.
Value.
Very good. 5 CMC card.
Yeah, 5 colorless.
5 colorless.
Well, any color.
5 generic. 5 nudgeric, as my mom would say.
I wasn't gonna say it.
I laugh every time. Well, it's just the Nudgeric brand. Mom, it's generic. So Alhammarret's Archive, next card, really great. If you're looking to draw cards, you want that. If you're looking to gain life, you want that. If you're not doing either of the things, you probably don't want that. But it's very good for those that do.
Oh, for sure.
Next card. I'm afraid you're going to have all 3 of these on your list now. I'm glad we had one that you didn't have.
Is it all black cards? Is that
no.
What you say that?
Well, we didn't include Demonic Tutor. Neither of us did.
Neither of us did, yeah.
It's a good card.
It's been printed a few times already.
It's cool that it's there, but I'm not...
It's in the old art, though, right?
I don't know. Did it say whether... Oh, can you hover and that's the actual art?
I think... Well, when I looked it up in Scryfall, I think it did show the old art Demonic Tutor.
Oh,
like the beta version, the guy with the mask, the golden mask.
The ugly one?
Disagree.
I like the guy in the boat. I like the guy in the boat with the monsters.
I
have both.
I like the original so much
better. Yeah, but the
better.
one's in white border.
Yeah, get an alpha.
Let me just hop on that. It'd be my first alpha card. Let me just start out with a demonic 2, not like a forest, alpha forest. Let me just jump right to demonic 2. Let me just jump right to time walk.
Yeah, just get some power. It's fine.
Next card, expropriate.
Expropriate's on the list for sure. This card's bonkers.
Yeah, conspiracy.
Yeah.
Has been reprinted before. First time being reprinted. Is it as Al Hamrat's archive? This is the first reprint, right?
I believe it's also the first reprint.
Expropriate. Everybody votes for time or money. If you vote for time,
everyone votes for money,
except the person who casts it, who votes for time every time. Unless you already have an extra turn stacked up, then you can sometimes vote for money. I've done that. So if someone votes for time, the player that casts expropriate takes an extra turn. And this is for each person that picks this. And then money, you get to take any permanent. And it's not target permanent. You just take a permanent. So you can take a hexproof creature. You can take anything. And if you're playing a game with 4 people, you could get 4 turns. And I have been given 3 turns before.
Which is wrong.
Thank you.
This is wrong.
Thank you so much.
As an announcement.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
An announcement to all of you Commander players out there. There are 2 cards with voting on them that you must always answer the same way every time. Expropriate, your answer is money. If you say time, you're doing it wrong. And the other one I feel like might be on the list, so I'll leave it as one of my cards instead. If it's not
you have a voting one? Oh, I certainly have no other voting cards on my list.
It's not a voting per se, but it's one where you would have to answer it.
Nope.
Okay, good.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Is it Perforos, God of the Forge?
It's not, but it's also on my list.
Okay, Perforos made my list. Great reprint. First time reprint.
Yeah, fantastic card.
Whenever a creature comes into play, Perforos, God of the Forge deals 2 damage to each opponent. And then it also has an additional ability that I think it's 2 in a red, that has pay this, and each creature you control gets +1/+0 till end of turn.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that someone who plays as many token decks as you would love a card like Perforos.
I only play a few token decks. I think I have 4. But only one plays Perforos because only one of my token decks has red.
That's true. It's very true.
So I have green-white, I have green-black, I have green-black, I have red-blue. Locust God, Slimefoot, Sigarda, Hapatra. Do I have any other token decks? I have too many commanders, as you can tell, as we're trying to think through my list.
Never enough commanders. Your new commander, does he make wolves? Tolsimir,
Friend of Wolves. We just built another budget deck, so eventually we're going to play a game.
Yes.
We'll record another game, and we'll put that up on the YouTube channel, playing budget decks. I am 1 deck away from having all of the guilds built. I just have to build Gruul, and I don't know what I want to build there.
It's a tough one.
It's probably going to be...
you don't have many choices.
I don't want it to be Borborygmos, though.
So it's Rurik Thar.
It's probably going to be Rurik Thar.
Yeah, because like your only 2 choices.
Yeah. And then my last card that I have on here is Teferi's Protection.
Teferi's Protection's definitely on the list. That card needed a reprint like nobody's business.
Well, this would be the second time if you're going to count the Judge promo.
With the Judge promo. That's true.
Card's great. 2 and a white. You basically phase out. And nothing can affect you. And you're gone until your next turn.
Yeah, protection from everything.
And your life total can't change.
Yep. That's
So you had 4 of my 5. But I'm glad Thought Vessel wasn't on your list, because we did have one that was different. But I specifically picked these because these are great commander cards.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about here. There's a lot of cards that are good in other formats. We want to talk about the important ones that we thought were value for commander players. Now, this set is 1,800 cards. I guess 1,694. So I wouldn't expect the price to go down a whole lot.
Probably not.
Chances are all of these cards that we're picking are going to appear in a mythic or a rare slot. I don't know what Thought Vessel is going to appear as in a booster, or if that even matters. I honestly don't know if that matters. It has to. There's got to be.
I think it matters.
But I assume that these are going to be opened even less than you think. And we also didn't pick cards like Mana Crypt,
right?
Because
they're just a little too generic.
But also those cards aren't generally played in all commander decks. They fit in, but if you're playing with people and you're not playing for like if you're not playing competitive, or you're just trying to make a less competitive commander more competitive, you would add it. But it's out of the budget for, I would say, the majority of the player base. It's $250 for a single card is ridiculous. It honestly is.
It is. You know, Teferi's Protection, I would even throw up there. So I do hope Teferi's Protection only be printed as a Judge promo and in the Vampiric Bloodlust. commander
that's the
deck.
Edgar Markov commander deck from a few years ago.
The fact that it was only printed in those two sets drives the card's value. I think it's like a $40.
I think it's 40, which in all reality is not that bad.
No,
when you think of, and when I say this, we have to pick and choose really expensive cards because I'm not about to drop $900 to $1,000 on a deck. I like to say I've got $200. What can I work with?
Yes, I agree.
Or less, or I'm going to shift over nine cards or 9 to 15 cards from another deck.
Yep.
Like I'm not going to buy another Ristic Study. I mean, we own like 6. And I'm not about to buy a 7th or an 8th.
I bought mine
Just
when
move
they
them
were.
around.
I bought mine when they were. I was doing an order on TCG Player, and Ristic Study was at like $12, and I was like, I'm just gonna buy like 6 of these right now.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that was a while ago?
That was a while ago.
Okay, I was like, wow, you just got a really good deal.
Oh yeah, if they're
Because they're at
$12,
$20 now.
I'd buy every single one if they were doing it.
I sold mine when they were at 6, and I had about 9 of them.
Ugh.
Probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't. Okay, so those were my top 5. You obviously had 4 overlapping. Pick like a few more.
Oh yeah, I got some.
I didn't pick a bunch. There's a lot that it was hard to pare down 1,694 cards to just 5.
So, one card, Commander staple for some green ramp, and how about everyone ramps?
Yeah.
And this is also one of those
Is this
cards.
a tempting card?
This is a very tempting card. It's called Tempt with Discovery.
Oh.
It says I'm gonna pay 3 and a green, and I'm gonna search for any land in my deck and put it on the battlefield. But every other player that I'm playing with may also choose to go search for a land, and for each player that does, I can search for an additional land and put it on the battlefield. So what do we say to Tempt with Discovery? You say no.
I am not tempted by you.
When you play against my Marin of Clan Neltoth, and
you get surprise Urza land out of nowhere.
That was in Morophon, but yeah, that was nice. That was when oh my god,
none of us knew, and we're like, okay, well, I'll tutor, and then he goes, cool, I'll grab the power plant, I'll grab the mine, and I'll grab the other one. Which one is that one? Power plant and mine and
tower.
And tower. And I was like, what is this shit?
And then also the Sanctum of Ugin.
Eugene.
Yeah.
Sanctum of Eugene.
So that I could cast Morophon and then go search for an Eldrazi.
Yeah, so we say no to being tempted, but it is a very good reprint. The card already affordable. The card I think is less than $4 right now, but I think it's good that it's being reprinted so that there's a few more out there.
It's yeah.
When you think green, think tempt.
So a card that I've always wanted to own one of, and a quote-unquote knockoff version, was printed in the latest set, Throne of Eldraine. It is a mana dork called Bloom Tender. For 1 and a green, it is an Elf Druid 1/1. It says, for each color among permanents you control, add 1 mana of that color to your mana pool. This thing for 2 mana could potentially tap for 5.
And we call it Faebro Elder from Throne of Eldraine because it is the same card, but it costs 1, a green, and a white.
Right.
So they made it a little more restrictive, and it's not. They have a different creature type and stuff. But
yeah. However,
same ability on a different creature.
It does. The new one from Eldraine does tap for 2 right away from its own colors. So
correct.
You could call that a quote unquote advantage.
3 taps for 2 is better than a lot of mana rocks we already play in the format.
For sure. And it's colors too. It's not colorless mana.
Correct.
Which is nice. So that one I would like to see.
Yeah, I didn't even search for that. I wasn't even thinking. I was trying to think of staples that a lot of people play in a lot of decks, and I feel like I missed that one. That was a good one.
That's a great one.
I hope that I don't own one either because I think they're like $60.
Yeah, I hope this
like
one
$50.
actually sees at least a little bit of a price
Well, there's
drop.
no way that would be printed at Mythic, so that's good at least. But the fact that
it was printed at Rare in its original printing,
but it's also a really old set.
That's true.
When I say really old, I mean that was from. Is that the Lorwyn block?
It looks like Lorwyn. Yeah.
That is Morning Tide.
Oh.
Eventide. That is Eventide. It's one of the tides from the Lorwyn 4.
Tide goes in.
Tide goes out. There's a moon. Arlen Cord.
Is Imprisoned in the Moon reprint?
I didn't look that up.
Imprisoned in the Moon.
Don't play that because that's mean.
It's mean.
It's mean against people's commanders. Don't touch people's commanders. It's mean.
Unless you're also playing Strip Mine. which sounds mean, but in combination,
sure, at least they can go back to the command zone.
they can go back to the command.
So you're like, haha, I took your commander. Now I blew it up so you can have it back.
Right.
Why did you do that? You just won.
Because I felt bad taking your commander away, but I didn't want you to win that turn. Okay,
next one.
That's only 2 of them. Oh crap. Okay. This is a card.
Let's do one more.
Okay, we can just do one more. This is a card I play in Risk the Redeemed. It shuts down every single one of Nick's decks.
Is it called Aura Shards?
It's called Aura Shards.
Is this the first reprinting of Aura Shards?
Yes, it is.
Really?
Or was it printed in a commander deck?
No, I don't think that card's in a commander deck.
You tell me what that set symbol is.
Oh, that's a commander deck.
But I don't know.
That's the OG commander deck, I believe.
I don't know which one it would be in.
TCG player. We're just gonna go look it up real quick. Oh, I'm gonna turn that down. I have like updates. My computer's yelling at me.
I just want to keep yelling all these cards out on my list.
Sure. You can just name them off, and we won't talk about each one. But if you just want to list them,
Sword of the Animist, ramp. Revel in Riches, win cons. Elish Norn needed a reprint bad. Deep Glow Skate. Double all the counters on all your planeswalkers. It's ridiculous. Wargate. You get to search for stuff. Triumph of the Hordes. Win con. Mono Black Soren Markov because 40 life down to 10 life. That's pretty good. Font of Mythos. Actually needed a reprint. That card is actually kind of expensive.
What is it?
Font of Mythos is a 4-mana artifact that says at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws 2 additional cards.
Okay.
So it's kind of group huggy. Carpet of Flowers needed a reprint, but that's more of a competitive card.
Yeah.
Dictate of Erebos got a reprint.
Oh, okay.
Heck yeah. And then Phyrexian Metamorph. You have a good guy. I have a good guy now too.
Yeah. Aura Shards is from Invasion and then was also in Commander.
Awesome.
The set is actually just called Commander. It's the original one.
That's good.
So now it's reprinted. Those are all good cards.
I like this. I'm
the
a
problem
gambler.
is don't buy this for value.
But
do not. If you do, sure, it's risk and it's fun, but you should draft it. Don't open these packs. Do not open these.
It'll be a fun draft experience, even if you don't like draft, because it's so chaotic. So just try it out. If this is going to be your first set to draft, this will be interesting.
But we called out these ones because they're in the draft set, but are also great in Commander.
Yeah, you'll love them in your Commander decks.
Yes. If you want to see the list of those reprints, though, you can check out the article on Daily MTG that was posted this week. We'll post the link on Twitter after we post the episode. Are there any reprints that you are all excited to see? Tweet at us what you're looking forward to seeing reprinted. If we missed anything that you think that we should have talked about or that is important to the format that we didn't see or we just missed, let us know.
Please.
I think that takes us to our next topic.
So yeah, one of our listeners, Cosmic Library, came to us with a question saying, for someone who's brand new to the Commander format, that's seeing all of these cards that they've never seen before.
That can be super overwhelming. Yeah. Right? And it can be.
Right. I mean, and even with some of these older cards, reading the card doesn't necessarily explain the card, even though that's the rule.
And they've got 16 lines of text, and it's all super small print.
Yeah, so you're going to see a lot of cards that you've never seen before. So he suggested that maybe we go over kind of Commander for newbies, different ways to play the game, different cards you might see.
Sure. So we figure we break it down into a few subcategories here. So the first one is resources to find out where you can learn this information, looking for strategies or specific cards that are popular. 2 is we're going to talk about the most played cards by color based on data from EDH Rec for the past 2 years, and then archetypes that you'll see, and then what cards that those archetypes or decks tend to play and to kind of just watch out for.
Definitely.
That you're likely going to see, over and over and over. And not because the format isn't unique, just because it really works with certain strategies.
Yeah.
So the first one is resources to learn where you can find this information. We use EDH Rec a lot. When we start to make our decks, I think that's probably one of the first places we look, is just to look to see what's there.
Yep.
Get some ideas. We use Tapped Out. Tapped Out, you can see. And I would say that, and we talked to a lot of people at Commander this week, talking about this, and we had a lot of people say that net decking in Commander for especially your first or second deck is actually really good. Because you wouldn't think of building a deck that way.
It's important.
Even now, there's cards that someone will say, "Are you playing this in your deck?" And I'll go, "I don't even know what that card is."
Yeah.
Today,
right?
I've been playing for a long time, and they'll explain how it works with my commander or with another card that's definitely already in my deck, and then I'll go, "Oh yeah, all right, you're right. It makes sense. I should probably put that card in there."
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be afraid of allowing someone else to do the work ahead of time and then picking and choosing the cards that you do or don't like from their deck.
And then later on in your experience as a commander player and a deck builder, you'll learn how some of these strategies work, and you'll pick up on some of these other cards that maybe other people haven't thought of, and you'll be able to build your own flavors and your own decks. But yeah, don't be afraid to net deck. It's fine.
There's a lot of folks that, there's an EDH Rec podcast. There's a lot of articles on that website. So you don't have to just look at deck lists or specific cards that have the text that you like on them. Although I suggest you start with that. If there's a specific, a mechanic that you like, I would look up those mechanics and then find out what you can even back into it. You can select a card that you like the ability of, you can click on it and it'll say which commanders have been built that people include this card in. Yep. So you can see which commanders would likely work with whatever card or mechanic that you like. Other resources that you utilize.
I use Gatherer because I don't use Scryfall for some reason. Sometimes
it's just because you haven't gone to it yet.
I'm not super experienced with Scryfall.
They essentially do the same thing, but I feel that Scryfall has a more updated interface and robust interface that's easier to use. I think it's user friendly, and you can find everything there, including words from flavor text.
Yes. Now, the only thing that Gatherer has over Scryfall is the Oracle text on some cards. So some cards, like we kind of said in the introduction of this segment, some cards do things that their words actually say they don't do.
Do you have an example?
So Mana Short, I believe, is one. It's just going off the top of my head because I remember an interaction.
Who plays this card?
So I played this card in, oh gosh, I don't even remember what deck it was in. So it's a blue interrupt, not an instant. But
no, it does say instant from 7th.
Is it from 7th? Mana Short. It has a rose as a picture. Am I thinking of a different card?
You're thinking of a different card. This is like a man that's just like maybe a zombie thing.
Is it like tap all lands? Okay, so there is an older printing of that card that I have.
Okay, well either way, this already does have Oracle text as well on Scryfall as well.
Perfect, but it's been reprinted. So, but that's
well, no, this card also doesn't say what the Oracle text says. This card says tap all lands target player controls and empty his or her mana pool.
So the version that I had said tap opponent's lands. And it didn't actually say target
anything
opponent.
Else.
It didn't say target opponent. So I'm like, does this do it for everybody? And then we had to look up the Oracle text. And I was like, no, it's
and now the Oracle
opponent.
text says tap all lands target player controls and that player loses all unspent mana.
Yeah, no more mana burn.
So there is Oracle text also on Scryfall.
So Scryfall might be an exclusively better tool than Gatherer.
It is.
I should have used it when looking up all of my at least 4 colors cards that I needed for Morophon.
It's that hot new.
Yeah.
It's that good stuff. So I use Scryfall for everything, especially when you're looking to find something to post on Twitter, like the only card that has the word candy referenced in it, which I am going to search right now again because I can't remember. It's a Rakdos card though.
A Rakdos card with candy.
Because I wanted to post about in the flavor text. It's the only card that has the word candy.
That's some sweet flavor text you found there.
Oh, I see what you did there. It is a Rakdos card, and it is called Showstopper. It is from Dragon's Maze. The card itself says, until end of turn, creatures you control gain. When this creature dies, it deals 2 damage to hurt creature an opponent controls. But the flavor text is an audience quickly realized a few things. It wasn't a magic trick. There wasn't candy in there, and they need new clothes because everybody's getting shredded to smithereens in this card.
It's like pinata.
It's like a pinata. The format we played at Command Fest. But that would have been really good. We should have played this. Someone should have played Oathbreaker Pinata. And this is your signature spell. No, but I was looking that up because I wanted to post something about, I don't know, candy on Halloween or something. And Scryfall helped me find the only card that referenced candy. Other words that have not been referenced before, things I was looking for like a Thanksgiving post: turkey. Never been referenced on a magic card. I did find cornucopia and astral cornucopia. Yeah. Let's try cranberry.
Cranberry.
Do you think cranberry's been referenced on a magic card before in the flavor? The flavor of cranberry? It's not. No cranberry. Give me another word. One more.
Gravy. Gravy. All the Eldraine cards had food in it, right? Maybe gravy. Maybe some gravy.
Knight of the Kitchen Sink from Unstable says, "Woo!" For a minute, I thought I'd forgotten the gravy boat. I like this tool. It's you just search flavor : and then a word that you want to see in the flavor text.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Anyway, great resource, Scryfall, not only to find flavor text, but to find information on commanders. There's an advanced search option. You can select certain colors, certain CMCs, certain creature types. Helps you build a commander deck. Any other resources that you have? I know we consume a lot of content. So we watch videos from MTG Goldfish.
Yeah.
We listen to the EDH Rec podcast. We listen to Pioneer Decklist podcast. We listen to a lot of podcasts. There's a lot of people that talk about this. So you'll learn a lot the more you listen to.
Yep.
And we'll share as much as we can. And I do post a lot on Twitter as well. So if I see something cool, follow me at ATFlory. Or the podcast Guardian Project Pod. Guardian Pod at Guardian Pod. I know my own podcast's
you do.
Twitter handle. It's Guardian Pod because
at Guardian Pod.
It was too long to do Guardian Project Pod. Same reason why you're squeaky pig.
Not MTG, but just.
So the second way we broke this down was we want to talk about the most played cards by color based on EDHREC's website, and you can search for in the past month, in the past year, or the past 2 years. And so we are going to break down each one by color. We kind of want to talk about what these top 5 cards are for each color, maybe how they relate to that specific color, what that color wants to do. And these are the cards that you're going to see.
Right.
Guaranteed you're going to see these. Probably almost every game.
Every single
game. And
game.
not because people don't know how to find more unique cards, because these just work and they do what the color is supposed to do.
They're arguably the best card, and they're cheap enough where everyone can have one.
In most cases, they're cheap enough. Blue has some expensive ones. Let's go with white.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so in white, the first card on the list is a removal spell called Sword to Plowshares. So it's 1 white, instant speed, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to that creature's toughness. Power. That creature's power. So 1 white, instant speed, exile. Name one other card that does that.
Path to Exile.
And that card is a modern staple. And this one makes it so your opponent can't go grab a basic land either.
It's also number 2 on the list of top 5 mono white cards.
It's an absolutely amazing card. You can exile someone's dork. If you're going up against a reanimator deck, it exiles that. It's not just a destroy card, and it only costs 1 mana and it's instant speed. It is a ridiculously good card, and I think undervalued a lot of the time. People will replace it with a wrath spell, which wrath spells are good and all, but it destroys your creatures too. And I really like swords. I think you should try to slot it in almost any white deck that you have. You need removal in Commander. Everyone has
targeted and mass. I also play mass removal, but sometimes you just need it.
You really do. I mean, I don't know if this is actually correct statistic, but 99% of commanders are creatures. So you can remove it.
It has to be a right stat.
It's probably close.
If you include the planeswalkers, that can be your commander, and a Rick Smithies, that's a land, but also a creature, so arguably still a creature.
Yep.
It's probably a right stat, because I believe we're going to be over 1,000 once next year ends.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So, anyway.
So,
we make up stats here at the Guardian Project podcast. Fact check, please.
do you know that 75% of statistics are made up?
I didn't. And 95% of the time, it always works. That's not the joke, but I just said it.
No, it works.
Is that the joke?
That worked.
5% of the time, it doesn't.
95% of the time works every time.
And 5% of the time, it doesn't work.
It still works, just to a lesser degree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it pretty much 100% of the time works, just sometimes it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
It just always works.
It's just, it works though. So the second card on white.
Third card in white. We did the first two. We did swords and path.
Path is the second card on white.
Yeah.
I didn't even...
Right, that's why I jumped in and said the second card on our list.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, because you started already talking about it. And I said,
you're right.
funny enough.
Funny
card
enough.
number 2. So we're on card number 3.
Card number 3, my favorite type of card in Commander.
It's a tutor called Enlightened Tutor. For 1 white, you search your library for an artifact or an enchantment and put it into your hand. Nope. You reveal it, and then you shuffle your library and put it on top of your library.
You put it on top.
But if you do it at the end of someone's turn, you're essentially just going to put it in your hand.
Yes.
So you grab your best artifact or your best enchantment or something that's going to get you out of a bind. That's what you do with this.
It's in a eternal format where it's 99 cards singleton, meaning you can't have repeats of any card in your deck beside basic lands. Tutors make your deck more consistent. Some would argue less fun, but it does make them more consistent.
Yep. Consistency is important. Next card is Commander Staple, for sure.
Oh,
Sun Titan. This card is a big creature that brings things back from the graveyard in white.
Yes.
And it brings them back to the battlefield.
6/6 Vigilance brings permanents back with CMC 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield when it ETBs or attacks.
So if you can bounce it, you can bring a lot of cards back from your graveyard.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Or if you just reanimate this, you reanimate it and something else with CMC 3 or less.
So when someone keeps targeting your 3 CMC enchantment that we will talk about in a little bit, you can just keep bringing it back.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then the last card in white is Return to Dust. 2 white, and it is exile target artifact or enchantment. If you do this during your main phase, you get to exile an additional artifact or an enchantment. So it's instant speed. Really good.
Yeah, I mean, getting 2 things off the board. Sometimes, everyone else will have a board state, and he's like, wow, how do I choose one thing? Well, now you get to choose 2 things.
And you don't always have to. Sometimes it's nice to hold it up and go, there's only one thing important on the board right now that I need to remove. If someone's holding, or if someone has like a propaganda or a ghostly prison that you can't swing through because you don't have the mana to swing and cast spells, just get rid of it. And it's exiled. So not just destroyed. They can't get this back unless they have one of the very few cards that put cards back into your hand or process them into your graveyard if you're playing Eldrazi's that process your own cards.
That sounds like very unique.
I don't know
deck.
if there's an Eldrazi that can process your own. It's most of the time it was put a card that your opponent controls in exile back into their graveyard because Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch. Was it Oath? Whichever set had the processors had stuff that cared about cards in exile and cards in graveyard.
Right.
So that was good and limited, but exiling things in Commander is better than destroying because somehow they're going to get that crap back.
As a mono black reanimator commander player, don't exile my stuff.
Yes.
I mean, you're going to want to.
You should.
But I don't want you to.
Like your Villas of Broker of Blood the other day.
Oh my God.
I still lost the game, but I was like, nope, that's gone. He was like, ugh. And I actually kind of felt bad. And the next turn, he won. because he had other better stuff in hand.
Gray Merchant's best black card ever.
So white, here, we have a lot of removal. We have a lot of tutoring. Well, not a lot of tutoring. We have some tutoring in the top 5, that is.
Yep.
And then card advantage and Sun Titan.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you want in your commander deck. You want some control. You want card advantage. White doesn't give you a whole lot of opportunity to draw cards, which is another thing that you want for your commander deck.
And white's not supposed to, though.
Right.
According to the color pie, white should not give you much card advantage. There are some cards that do it that are bends, like Mentor of the Meek, or that new white card that has, like, when a creature gains life, you can pay something and you can Draw a card. It's from Guild of Ravnica, I believe.
I don't even know that one.
You make like a 1/1 human that has lifelink, but when you gain life, you can pay. I think it's like 4 or something and draw a card, or you pay 4. I don't remember what it is exactly.
I know what you're talking about.
Dawn of something.
Dawn of Hope.
Dawn of Hope.
Dawn of Hope sounds right. We're gonna double check that real quick.
Yeah, we're gonna look it up real quick. And Dawn of Hope is the card. Whenever you gain life, you can pay 2 if you do draw a card, and pay 4, 3 and a white.
Mm-hmm.
Create a 1/1 soldier with lifelink token. Yeah, good stuff. So that's the top 5 in white. These are cards you are going to see. You should know what these do because you're probably going to see them. If someone's playing white, they've got some, maybe all, in their deck. Next color, let's go with blue. My favorite color.
Next color is blue, and Andy, I'm going to let you explain this first one.
Okay, so we have a card called Cyclonic Rift.
I've never heard of this card.
You've never heard of it?
Never heard of Cyclonic Rift before.
Oh, you might get got.
Yeah, you will.
And you're going to get got.
Why is my opponent holding up 7
Hey, look,
mana?
you got. So Cyclonic Rift is an instant for 1 and a blue. Truly. It can be cast for 1 and a blue. It says return target permanent to its owner's hand. But it also has pay 7.
6 in a blue.
6 colorless in a blue to overload. Overload says to replace each instant of target to the word all. So you return all permanents your opponents control to their owner's hands.
All non-land.
All non-land permanents, correct.
Yeah, don't be a player that returns all lands to your...
Yeah, don't play that.
Don't do that. So why is this card particularly good in Commander?
Well, you pretty much reset the board. Your opponents have spent so much mana, and it could be on like turn 8, and they have so many things out, and now they're all just back in their hand. If they're making tokens, they just poof, they disappear.
They go away.
So when you're playing Commander and you see someone that's playing blue is holding up 7 mana or more, you need to be cautious of Cyclonic Rift.
Maybe don't put out the 100 tokens you were thinking of making that turn.
Maybe not. But also, if they hold up more than 1 blue, you might be afraid of the second spell that is on this list, and it is called Counter Spell.
Yes.
What does that spell do?
Counter Spell, for blue, it says counter target spell.
So you don't want to get countered. And sometimes people just hold up blue because bluffing is a real thing in Commander as well.
It sure is.
And Coyle doesn't like when I hold up blue.
Nope.
When I most of the time have nothing, he won't play anything.
I used to just go for it.
And that's just as good as getting countered. You are getting countered if you are trying to play around my non-existent counter spell, which I'm cool with. Don't do that. Make them use that counter spell.
Yeah, unless it's
together.
Unless it's your only win con or
Correct.
something. But
Coyle used to also not wait, and I would go, you don't want to do that. And he goes, I'm going to do it. Okay, counter spell.
Patience is a virtue.
You need to be patient, Commander. It's not a turn 3 format. That's the other thing we want to mention. So modern turn 3 format, standard turn 2 or turn 3 Oko comes out, so you basically should just scoop. Yeah. Commander, it's not like that unless you're playing competitive, but we don't do that.
Even in competitive, I mean, you're probably going to be playing against other competitive decks as well that has some sort of control for each other. You're not winning before turn 5, 6, as long as all the decks are balanced in a pod, and that's super early too. You're probably going to be grinding out games. So if you have cards in your deck that you want to play that are 7 or 8 mana, Commander's the format to do it in.
Correct.
You will get there.
So 7 mana. You should watch for Cyclonic Rift.
Yeah.
The next card on the list is Brainstorm.
Brainstorm is a really good card.
For a single blue, instant speed, you draw 3 cards and then put 2 back on top of your library.
There's so many...
In any order you want.
There's so many good things you can do with this. You can... take 2 cards from your hand that you don't want anymore, put them back on top, and then use a fetch land and go shuffle your library just to get a brand new card on top. You can put miracle cards back on top of your library.
I love those. Miracles cost less when you if it's the first card you've drawn for the turn, they cost less. So you can stack the top of your library, like in an Amanatu the Fate Shifter deck, Brainstorm staple. you put back a miracle cost card that says this costs 1 and a white, put all creatures on the bottom of their owner's libraries. That's the white miracle. That's great because it could have been in your hand in your opening 7. And then a few turns in, you draw Brainstorm and you go, oh, I'm just going to stick this back on top. And then I get to cast it for 2 instead of whatever it costs, which I think it's like 5.
Which miracle?
The white one. Is it called Terminus?
Yeah, it's 1 and a white at Miracle.
At Miracle, 1 and a white. It only costs 2 then instead of, I think, 5, which is which I think is the normal cost of Terminus.
Which is, that card is nuts because it gets around destruction, it gets around cards can't be exiled if that was a thing.
Terminus costs 6 for white.
And it puts all creatures
and it doesn't cost 1 and a white, folks. It costs white.
That's it? 1 white?
1 single white for the miracle. It's a miracle.
Holy moly.
Yeah, because you shed like 1 single tier when you get it. Because you're like, thank God that token player's losing all their tokens. Mm-hmm. Or that mono black player's losing all their creatures they were going to sack that they don't have the sack outlet for right now.
Don't play Reanimator without a sack outlet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the best part of Brainstorm, quite honestly, like even if you, it's a term that a lot of people use is cantrip. Cantrip is a 1 mana spell that draws a card. Brainstorm is an instant speed, not sorcery speed. So I think it's better than cards like Sleight of Hand. And it only costs 1 blue. So I think there's just, if I had to compare it to a Yu-Gi-Oh card, I would call it Pot of Greed because broken.
I don't know what that means.
Pot of Greed is a magic.
Do you need the heart of the cards for that?
You definitely need the heart of the cards for Pot of Greed.
Yeah, so Brainstorm's good. It allows you to select your cards and put them back in the order that you want them because you may not need them right now. The next card on the set, which we did not even give an honorable mention to being in the mystery boosters, is Rhystic Study.
I love Rhystic
It is a
Study.
reprint. It is a blue card that I already mentioned in this podcast.
Yep.
I play it. You play it.
Everyone
we all play
it.
We all play it.
It's
an enchantment for 2 and a blue that says whenever an opponent plays a spell, you get to draw a card unless they pay 1 generic mana.
1 generic mana.
So 1 Nageric mana. So everybody's going to start saying Nageric now.
I hope so.
Yeah. And so this is the spell. When an opponent casts a spell, you go, are you going to pay 1? You do it really fast and you cut them off. Before they even lay the card down, you go, are you going to pay 1? And they go, calm down, Andy. And you go, well, are you?
Are you paying?
Because you got to pay right now. Because
Rhystic Study trigger on the stack?
Rhystic Study, it does happen first because then I could counterspell it afterwards.
That's correct.
And I got to draw that counterspell. That counterspell might have been on my deck, and if you had just paid the 1, I wouldn't have been able to draw that.
Now, this is
important to remember.
It is. The other thing important to remember this is it is a May trigger in the rare instance that someone else on the battlefield has a consecrated Sphinx on the battlefield that says whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2 cards. Maybe you don't want to draw the card from Rhystic Study.
I feel like you're targeting me right now for making a huge mistake playing your deck at Magic Fest Detroit this year.
It was that was this year.
I had you know what? He was a great ally. He was playing. I don't even know what he was playing.
He was playing
Tasigur and had a consecrated Sphinx, and I had a Rhystic Study. So I go, are you going to pay 1? And he goes, no.
Of course.
And I go, okay, great. I'm going to draw a card. And he goes, cool. I'll draw 2. So anytime someone was paying, or anytime someone didn't pay, I would draw. And I think the guy next to me goes, are you going to draw? Because he's going to draw 2 more. And I said, the best thing you can do in Magic is draw. I'll draw 1. He'll draw 2. He's doing even better than me. We lost to the Tasigur player. I shouldn't have been drawing the 1. But I just wanted to draw. I also didn't know how to play your deck.
Had Nekusar been on the battlefield, that would have been the best thing ever. He would have died.
He would have, but he didn't. So Rhystic Study is also being reprinted. This card's really good because if you can drop this on turn 2 or 3, you're going to get advantage. People are going to remove this.
Yep.
People are going to. You should always pay. If you have open mana and you're not going to spend all of it, always pay. Never let someone draw.
Yep, definitely.
So you should be aware that this card is going to be played. And if you have one, you should probably include it in your blue deck. Not because I have, just because I think that drawing is the best thing you can do, but card advantage is important in a format where you don't have card advantage in 4-ofs like you do in constructed formats, in other constructed formats.
Especially if you think about it early, if you're a CDH player out there, you know about the power of Mystic Remora, which is a 1 blue enchantment that does a very similar thing. people are going to try ramping out on the earlier turns, and every time they cast an artifact that ramps out, one, they can't tap that artifact in response to pay for it because it's not on the battlefield yet, and two, they're going to want to keep their mana up to pump out more of their ramp. So early card advantage, take the lead, keep the lead, win the game.
Yep. And then our last card here in the top 5 is Mystical Tutor.
Mystical Tutor.
Hey, it's another tutor.
I do love tutors.
Instant speed. Search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal it, shuffle your library, and then put that card on top. So it's like Enlightened Tutor, but for an instant or sorcery, and it costs a single blue. So you can end of turn Mystical Tutor for a Cyclonic Rift and draw it on your turn. Or if you're playing blue-white, you can Mystical Tutor for a Miracle Cost card and put that on top, and then cast it for its Miracle Cost on your turn. There's a lot of shenanigans that can happen with
it's
that's short for shenanigans, if you weren't aware.
Shenanigans
Is shenanigans. We just call it shenanigans now.
I like shenanigans.
For 1 blue. So that is also going to happen in Commander.
It will. It's another staple. So you need to... Well, obviously, it's another staple. We're talking about
because we're talking about staples.
Yeah. No, it's...
We're really talking about top 5 most played, but they are also considered staples in our book.
Yep.
Let's move to our next color, which I'm going to let you tackle. But, well, I guess before we do that, blue overall is very... it's control, card selection, card advantage. After looking at more than just the top 5, and obviously afterwards you can go to EDH Rec and look just by color and see more than just the top 5. Obviously, we're only talking about the top 5, but even if you're looking at the top 50, you're going to see those top 50 in Commander, not just these top 5 or top 30 or whatever it is that you see.
Right.
That you are likely going to learn those ones much more quickly than the rest.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Black.
This is the best color in Magic the Gathering, in my opinion. Why do I think this is best? So I am a very straightforward Commander player. I play the same combo every single time people get bored of my decks.
Yep.
And I think I'm going to tackle 3 of these cards together because of that. I think...
You sure are. Numbers 1, numbers 3, and number 4.
I think one of the best things Black brings to the Commander format is tutoring.
And especially when you don't have to show anyone what you're grabbing. Not one of these 3. See, in white, in blue, in green, it says you have to reveal it because you're grabbing a specific card. Black just lets you look for any card.
Any card.
So you don't have to show that you truly grabbed an enchantment or an artifact, or that you didn't grab an instant or sorcery with Mystical Tutor. These just say search for a card.
And the number 1 tutor on this list...
The number 1 card, period.
The number 1 card in Black and the number 1 tutor on the list. I want to quickly compare them to the Enlightened Tutor and Mystical Tutor that puts a card on top of your library. This card, Demonic Tutor, for 1 and a black, puts any card in your library into your hand. Directly in.
It literally costs double the mana, though.
1 and a black. And it's sorcery speed.
True.
So...
There is a difference.
There is.
The downside's not that bad.
It's really not bad at all. And that's all the card does, but it's massively good. You don't have to show someone that you pulled your Cyclonic Rift. They're going to notice that you're holding up 7 mana after that, but you don't have to show them. With a Mystical Tutor, you have to show them. Any answer that you want, you can go grab this with.
You can. And then you can also do that for the other 2. If you want to just quickly mention those names.
Sure. Diabolic Tutors, 2 black does the same
thing.
So
it just costs 4. So double that mana.
Right.
Still sorcery.
Still sorcery speed.
But allows you to do that. Great card. If you are on a budget, Demonic Tutor costs what? Like less than $1?
Yeah. In fact, if I just want to plug my favorite tutor in Black, Final Parting, 3 black. Put 1 card in your graveyard, 1 card in your hand. You should play that card too.
Not on the top 5.
Not on the top 5. Quick plug. And the other tutor on this list is Vampiric Tutor. Now, this is an instant speed for 1 black. And this does put the card on top of your library. You still don't have to reveal it. You do have to pay 2 life for it.
Yep, still okay.
So, number 2 on the Black list.
So that was cards number 1, 3, and 4. So Demonic Tutor's number 1, Diabolic Tutor's number 3, and Vampiric Tutor's number 4. Second most played card in Black.
Phyrexian Arena.
Card advantage.
Yes, it's a 1 black enchantment that says at the beginning of your upkeep, pay 1 life, draw a card. Or you lose 1 life and you draw a card. So every turn you're going to be drawing 2 cards and taking 1 life. which sometimes your deck wants to be taking life. Sometimes paying life is an advantage.
You also have 40 life, so go with it.
Yeah, I mean, life is a resource.
Use it. Who cares? It's just one. After 4 turns, you're like, crap, that was 4. If people are also swinging at you.
True.
But they might not be. If you're playing in a pod where people don't like to swing, then you're getting lucky. But I swing with my 1/1s.
But if you're playing that in your black deck, maybe you're also playing card number 5 on your black list, Blood Artist. And Blood Artist is a 0/1 creature for 1 and a black that says whenever a creature dies, not a creature you control, but whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life.
Yep.
This is really good in your reanimator decks. This is good when, someone wraths the board when there's 100 tokens out on the battlefield. You can gain some life, ping people.
Blood Artist's close relative, Zulaport Cutthroat, is also in the top, just not the top 5.
Yep.
It has whenever a creature dies,
that you control.
A creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So they're very similar.
Yep.
They are almost always played in the exact same deck.
For sure.
So black here has got card advantage, card selection, and tutoring in a way that is different than the other colors, because you're not limited by card type.
Right. It's got sneakiness.
And then there's some again multiplayer value here, like in blue.
Definitely. So the next color on the list is red.
Mm-hmm.
This one's a little tough. Red is one of these colors that, obviously there are the top 5 cards that are played, but red tends to like to do its own thing, and although some cards synergize well with other colors, it tends to want to synergize with itself the most. Mm-hmm. So the number 1 card on red is a sorcery speed card called Chaos Warp. So for 2 and a red, you can destroy. No. For 2,
it's the owner. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent, they put it onto the battlefield. So for 2 and a red, you are, fingers crossed, going to get rid of the card that you don't want out. If you get lucky like me and someone shuffles away your Cather's Crusade, mm-hmm. and you shuffle, and then you also allow your opponents to cut your deck, mm-hmm. and then you reveal it and you reveal Cather's Crusade, yep. You just got lucky. You should go buy a lotto ticket.
Yeah.
But in most cases, they get rid of your best thing and you reveal
a land
or an instant.
Yeah.
And then you don't even get to put it on, and you don't get to put it on the battlefield, and everybody knows what it is, and it's sitting on top of your library, and it's super irritating. But I think that's the number 1 card.
Yeah, it's the best.
It's good.
It's the best removal spell in red. I mean, red has trouble taking care of things like enchantments, and Chaos Warp's a good way to get rid of an enchantment in red.
Yeah. Number 2 is Blasphemous Act. You're going to see this in decks. It costs 8 colorless and a red to deal 13 damage to each creature, but it also says this spell costs 1 colorless less for each creature on the battlefield. So you are almost always going to spend 1 red mana, or even maybe like a colorless and a red.
Yep.
Sometimes 2 and a red.
But you're going to be doing 13 damage to everything, which kills most creatures.
Unless they have indestructible, or they are a creature that has more than 13 toughness, which I think there's a few, just a few, not many.
Yeah, only a very, very
I know
few.
Like Draco has it, but don't play that card. There's a few. This is a very good card. You want removal in red? That's your top 1.
Yep. But what if you don't want to remove creatures and instead want to remove artifacts?
Then you should play Vandal Blast, card number 3 on the list.
So Vandal Blast is a sorcery speed for 1 red. It says destroy target artifact. However, it does have...
You don't control.
That you don't control. It has an overload cost, just like Cyclonic Rift, for 4 and a red. Yep. It says... it says again, when you cast this, you replace each instance of the word target with each. So instead of destroy target artifact you don't control, it says destroy each artifact you don't control. Get rid of everyone's mana rocks and put everyone on an even playing field.
Everyone else's. You get to keep yours.
Keep your mana rocks.
If you run them, which you definitely do in this format.
Yeah, for sure. Next card is a card that was recently kind of banned in Modern. Faithless.
No, it wasn't kind of. It definitely was.
Well, recently kind of is what I was referencing.
It is banned in Modern. Very good card.
Yeah, so at sorcery speed for 1 red, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards.
So you're filtering your hand essentially here.
You
You're
are.
trying to draw into answers by getting rid of two things but you get to draw before instead of discarding before.
Right, so it's not looting.
No, this
it
is looting.
It is
Rummaging
looting.
is
It's
when
not
you
rummaging.
discard and then draw after.
Yeah, so
this is what we call looting.
So red doesn't have a whole lot of just card advantage. It's got hand filtering, and so that's what it does. Now, Faithless Looting also has for 2 and a red flashback from your graveyard, so you can cast it from your graveyard at sorcery speed for
and
2
then
and a
you
red.
exile it, which is fine. You only need to do it twice.
That's correct.
I mean, you'd like to do it more than that. There's some ways you can cast cards from your graveyard without exiling them, but not on the card.
That's right.
And then the last card, which is Red's Tutor.
Gamble.
You're going to gamble. For a single red, it's a sorcery. Search your library for any card. So kind of like black here.
Yep.
Any card. You
Yep.
don't have to reveal it. You put it into your hand. And then you have to discard a card at random.
You're going to put that, whatever card you search for, it's going in your graveyard.
No. If you do it on turn 1, chances are you're going to keep it. Turn 2, turn 3, you're getting lucky. Turn 4, turn 5, turn 6. It essentially would then say draw a card and insert into graveyard. But if you play with stuff in the graveyard that can be cast from or used from, then you're okay.
Yeah, it's great.
But gamble is number 5 on the list.
So yeah, I guess red, its top cards are looking at removal. It's looking at hand filtering. And then obviously there's a tutor on there because tutors are just really good in Commander to make your decks consistent.
Yep. Then we've got green. This is the color that I would say is good for new players.
Absolutely.
Best color. You get to ramp in this color. You get to play a lot of big creatures. Green, I feel like, does a little of everything.
It does. And currently in Standard, it's the strongest color and
it's been really good in Standard for a while.
really long
But
time.
the top cards in green include multiple ramp cards. By ramp, we mean you can search your library for a land and you put it onto the battlefield, so you get an additional land drop in many cases here. When I say additional, I don't mean you get to play an extra land per turn. It's just the spell is another land.
Yep.
So you've got Cultivate, which is 2 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for 2 basic lands, reveal them, put one onto the battlefield tapped, 1 into your hand, then shuffle your library. So this spell puts a land on and then replaces itself by becoming that second land in your hand.
Yep.
So this is definitely card advantage.
Absolutely.
Card number 2, very similar. Kodama's Reach for also 2 and a green for a sorcery, but it's an arcane sorcery.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
And it says search your library for 2 basic lands, put 1 onto the battlefield, tap 1 into your hand, and then shuffle your library. So they're identical, except one is an arcane spell.
You can splice Kodama's Reach?
It's not splice onto arcane. It's arcane that you could splice a splice onto arcane spell onto. This is your arcane, not splice.
If you've ever seen this happen, please let me know, because I haven't.
Neither have I. Who does that?
We should try to do that.
Splice onto arcane commander?
Yeah.
We'll look it up.
Okay.
Third card, arguably one of the best, that's aside from ramp, is Eternal Witness.
Oh, yeah.
1 green for a 2/1 human shaman. When it enters the battlefield, return target card from your graveyard to your hand.
Yeah, recursion.
Yep. So you know that Sun Titan we talked about in white? A lot of people bring Sun Titan back with Eternal Witness, and then like Eternal Witness will die or something, and then Sun Titan can bring it back.
Yeah.
Which will then bring back another card. There's lots of loopy combos with those two.
Yeah. You bounce them, whatever you want to do.
Eternal
Or
Witness,
blink 'em.
top notch. Chef's kiss. Mwah. The next one, Sakura Tribe Elder. 1 and a green for a 1/1 human. Nope.
No,
Snake. His
Looks like a turtle.
Sneaky.
but it's a snake.
The new artwork doesn't look like a turtle.
Oh, that's
The new
true.
artwork looks like a snake.
Yeah.
But it says sacrifice Sakura Tribe Elder, search your library for a basic land, and put it onto the battlefield tapped. So this creature can just become a land, and if you can bring that creature back somehow, like maybe Eternal Witness or Sun Titan, it just becomes more lands.
Yeah.
Played in Marin,
It's super good in Marin because it sacks itself.
a black-green commander that recurs creatures directly to the battlefield in many cases.
Yep.
And then the last card.
The last card is Beast Within.
Hey, removal in green.
Yeah, we see a green removal spell. So it's 2 and a green, instant speed, destroy target non-land permanent. It's
Target
creature.
permanent.
Oh,
Any
you can go
you
for
can-
lands too?
Yes, you can. Cabal Coffers, top-notch target. Urborg, also great target.
Why? You can have all black lands.
I don't care about that if I'm playing mono green. I don't want that Cabal Coffers. Or it's its more affordable cousin.
Generous Gift.
No, I'm talking about the land.
Oh, Cabal Coffer's generous cousin.
Yeah.
Urbor.
Nope.
No. Cabal Stronghold.
Yeah.
Which only taps.
Play that if you want the budget version.
Yeah.
Play that one.
3 taps for a black for each basic swamp you control.
That's fine.
Just make sure you're playing in
Basics.
That's
fine. Beast Within, though.
Beast Within.
Destroy target permanent.
Destroy target permanent. They get a 3/3 beast.
Yes. Its controller of the permanent that was destroyed gets a 3/3 green beast. So, green's got recursion. It's got ramp. It also has tutors. Obviously not here in the top 5.
Right. Worldly tutor to search for a creature and put it on top of your library.
Yeah, and you have to reveal it. That's the tutor that green has that costs 1. It's got as I'm looking at these, I also see that there is 1, 2, 3, 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4 more cards in the top here that just grab lands.
Yeah.
Lots of card draw here.
I mean, green equals ramp.
But in Commander, if you're playing a deck that has green, you're probably playing these land ramp cards because you're trying to ramp so that you can play bigger spells that cost more mana later in the game.
Yep.
So, very good in green. We are also going to touch on colorless and multicolor here. So, colorless, top card, Soul Ring.
Number 1 card played in Commander.
But I also think that that's unfair because it's skewed. Because whenever somebody puts together a deck and they post it online, if they took it from the precons all print Soul Ring.
That's true.
But it's very good. For 1, you get 2.
It's mana positive.
Yep. The next 2 are protection for your commanders or for a special creature, Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots.
Also haste.
You do well, and the one gives Shroud.
Yeah. Could be good, could be bad.
It could be good, it could be bad. Yeah, so Lightning Greaves is 2. It says equipped creature has haste and Shroud, so you can't target it with spells or abilities, even your own. It's arguably worse than hexproof because people thought Shroud was hexproof, and then they made hexproof because they thought that was what people thought Shroud was.
Right.
But it has equip for 0, so you can play your commander, play Lightning Greaves, equip it, and then no one can target it. Obviously, mass gets rid of it, mass removal, mass exile, mass bounce, whatever. But Swiftfoot Boots, its close cousin for 2 also. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste, and then it has equip for 1.
Yep.
So you spend 1 extra mana, but you get what you really want, which is you can target it with things still. And then Commander Sphere.
Commander Sphere is for 3 mana. It taps for 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. You can also sacrifice it to draw a card. So this is a card that you mentioned earlier in this episode, talking about how 3 mana to produce 1 mana might not be the best, but it is a color of mana, and then the card draw is significant. You might not think that you want to sacrifice your mana rock to get a card, but late game you might not need that mana. It's
Right.
better to just get the card.
Yep.
And the last card, Mr. Sad Robot himself, Solemn Simulacrum. So for 4 mana, he's a 2/2. When he enters the battlefield, you can search your library for a basic land and put it on the battlefield tapped. And when he dies, you can draw a card. So it gives you a body, gives you a blocker, gives you a land, gives you a card. Super good card advantage. You can play it in every deck.
Super good. Great stuff. But if you continue to look at the top list here, you've got other rocks. I mean, you've got Chromatic Lantern, Mindstone, Felwar Stone, Gilded Lotus, Darksteel Ingot, Thought Vessel, and then you start Thran Dynamo, Worn Power Stone, Hedron Archive, Mana Crypt, Mana Vault. I mean, this is rocks.
All the rocks.
But, I mean, you have a few things mixed in, like a Skull Clamp here, Ashnod's Altar, Sensei's Divining Top, but these are the top cards that a lot of people play. Some of them combo out, but in general...
So ramp, card advantage.
You've got creatures, you've got protection, you've got card draw on Hedron Archive.
Colorless artifacts can do anything. They just might cost a couple more mana.
Yep. And then moving on to multicolor, this one we're gonna do cards 5 through 10. I'm sorry, 6 through 10, because the first 5 are just mana rocks, the signets that tap for a color. You pay a colorless, and then you make 2 specific colored mana, like the Dimir signet. You pay a colorless, and you tap it, and you get a blue and a black.
Yep.
We're not going to talk about those.
Yep.
Because
they exist. They're good.
They exist. They're great. We're going to talk about the first 5 true gold bordered multicolor cards on the list.
So number 1 is Anguished Unmaking. This is an instant for 1, a white and a black, where you exile target creature and you lose...
target non-land permanent.
Target non-land permanent, man. And you lose 2 life.
Yep, and you lose 3 life.
3 life, damn it. Darn it.
Crushing it. No. Well, I don't think you run a ton of removal, though. To be fair, you're the one that we have to move crap from. Because you play a lot of playing the game by yourself because you have a goal in mind.
I play solitaire. I also don't run a lot of black and white, to be 100%
I don't
honest.
either, to be fair.
I don't have this in my Esper deck. I do have the next card in my Esper deck.
Of these top 5, though, 4 of them are black and white.
Yeah.
The next one is Merciless Eviction, 4 colorless, a white and a black, and you choose 1. Exile all artifacts, exile all creatures, exile all enchantments, or exile all planeswalkers. This tends to fall on artifacts or creatures most often, and they're exiled. Like we said, that's real great in Commander. So if someone's playing white and black, chances are they might exile all your stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Be aware. And this actually isn't numbers 5 through 10. It is a mix because Azorius Signet, Simic Signet, and Golgari Signet are also in the top 10 there. So moving on after that, we have Utter End.
Utter End is an instant speed for 2, a black and a white, that says exile target non-land permanent.
Yep.
We have more removal.
Yep. And then we're going to go to Putrefy, 1, a black and a green. Destroy target artifact or a creature. It cannot be regenerated, which I guess sometimes that matters.
It can.
But that's an instant speed removal spell.
Yeah.
And then we have our last one, Mortify.
Mortify is for 1, a white and a black.
Instant
speed. It says destroy target creature or enchantment.
Hey, look. Removal's important in Commander.
It really, really is.
But I think the most unique cards are the ones that are here in multicolor. But as you look through a lot of them are removal. You have Assassin's Trophy, Crackling Doom, Decimate, Rakdos Charm, Terminate, Supreme Verdict, Boros Charm. There's a lot of... I guess Boros Charm is not actually removal because you deal 4 damage to your player. Yeah, so that is not removal at all.
That's protection. You can give all your creatures
that one is
indestructible.
protection. But there's a lot of removal in here. This is my favorite one to go through, though. Seeing the multicolored cards, because it's much more interesting to play multicolored cards than it is to play monocolored cards, in my opinion.
I disagree, but understand where you're coming from. But, mono black is the best color combination in Magic the Gathering.
So multicolor has... This color has everything.
Yes.
Stefan, SNL, good stuff. If you've watched it, if you haven't watched Stefan, go to YouTube and look up SNL Stefan.
Yeah.
And then watch all the episodes for hours.
All of them.
They're literally the best. Multicolor has everything, though. I mean, arguably,
does.
It's got ramp. It's got... Because the Simic Signets, all the Signets in general are multicolored. For identity purposes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to run in these solo colors, mono black, they have a hard time removing artifacts, removing enchantments. Red has a hard time removing enchantments. You start combining it with white and these multicolor, and then you can actually start being able to control the game a little bit better than you could in a monocolor deck. Right.
And then the last thing that we were going to talk about is a few different archetypes that you will see being played.
So they all revolve around some sort of theme for the deck. I mean, and it's most of the time, at least, for our type of decks, most of the time it revolves completely around the commander.
I don't play good stuff. That's what a lot of folks call it, good stuff, which is you pick a commander for the color that has a relevant ability, and then you just play good stuff in those colors. I don't have any of those unless you argue that Joda is good stuff, but it has mostly planeswalkers, so I would say it's planeswalker deck.
I'd call it big stuff or
Super
planeswalkers.
Friends.
Yeah, for sure.
But a few of these here, if you look up the themes, you can also look up themes on EDH Rec. You've got the top themes here, the top 10 in order by the number of decks that have been posted online and have been scraped by EDHREC. And this one is all time is Artifacts, Life Gain, Aristocrats. Aristocrats is where you sacrifice creatures and you gain value, like that Blood Artist that we referenced in the top 5 there for black. You've got +1/+1 counter decks, Lands Matters decks, token decks, love them. Sacrifice decks,
love those.
Love that. You have Wheels, which is you or everyone discards their hand and draws a number of cards. It could be draw 7, draw equal to the number of the person who had the most in their hand. You've got equipment decks and auras. So auras is like enchantments that you place on creatures or on lands.
Yep, they might call them Voltron decks if it's all revolved around your commander.
Yep. Continuing on, there's Planeswalkers, regular enchantments, Spell Slinger, you're just casting a lot of spells. Pod decks actually made it up there. So you're sacrificing a creature and you're getting a creature out onto the battlefield that has a higher CMC than the one that you cast. There's obviously stipulations. Toughness Matters decks.
Yeah.
And obviously these are just a few. But take a look at this list. This is going to provide you with a number to equate with the number of decks that are being built there. I would not say that it specifically means that a certain mechanic is more popular than others. It might mean that there's more available cards in the card pool for that mechanic, like Artifacts.
Yeah, tons
clearly
of them.
have more than a Blink deck. There's more Artifacts than there are cards that matter, or cards that care about blinking.
For sure.
But if I just scroll down a ways and I look at a random mechanic here, I see there is Landfall. Landfall is very low on this list, but there are some top commanders, arguably one of the top commanders that used to be in the top list of most played commanders, Omnath, Locus of Rage.
Yep, super good.
Yep, very good. Populate decks, extra turn decks, cycling decks, land destruction decks.
Why would you be that person?
I'm sorry. I did that a few times and I took that deck apart because that was mean.
I don't hate that deck anymore. I hated it when you played it, but I don't hate that deck anymore.
Yes. So, the most common archetypes that you're going to see are the ones that we had talked about, obviously, at the beginning of that list.
Yep.
And I mean, you're going to see them pretty much every time you play Commander. I mean, I would say I see a version of tokens, whether it's me or someone else playing it almost every single time I go to Commander on either Friday or Sunday.
Yep, and whether that's...
Or Monday or Sunday.
Whether that's mass token generation or populate, or one of the other ones, which creates a token copy of a token that you control. I mean, there's just so many token decks out there because it's fun. It's fun to put 100 cards out on the battlefield.
So from here, you can click on the theme and it tells you the top commanders for those themes. It tells you new cards that came out that work with those themes. And it also gives you high synergy cards that work with those themes. And then just top cards that are generally played in that group of commanders. So you can find the mechanic, like I said at the beginning, find the mechanic that you like or the colors that you like.
Yep.
Look around. There's a lot of resources online. There's a lot of deck techs. There's a lot of videos of gameplay of watching how those play out. And then tell us what you like. Yeah. Is there a mechanic that you guys play that you like more than others? Is there something that you're done seeing? You're like, this is overdone. I don't want to see any more of it. What do you like or what don't you like? We are interested in what you guys see.
Maybe there's an archetype you don't think is well supported enough, and maybe we know something that you don't, where it is actually supported, and you should try a commander out that we can suggest to you, or
a theme that doesn't appear on this theme list here. Obviously,
Absolutely.
This is just EDHREC, so this is not the end all be all.
Right.
And
Chairs
I know
is not on there.
Chair Tribal did not make this list. We have a buddy that plays Chair Tribal with King Kenrith, the Returned, and every single card has a chair in it. It's great. So Chair Tribal didn't make a top theme. I don't think chair is a theme, but I mean, as a mechanic, but as a theme, a flavor theme, I mean, that's on point. That's really great. But I think that's it for this week.
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. I hope we didn't talk your ear off too much.
And for those of you that do play Commander, maybe you did or didn't think about those cards in the way that we think about them, or if you have a different way that you would think about those top cards, or if you don't think you should play them because there's other versions that you'd rather see, let us know.
Yeah.
And maybe we're all just drinking the Kool-Aid, playing these cards, and there's better options.
Definitely.
But I would say that's it. You have anything else?
I don't have anything.
All right. Well, thank you all
Thanks.
for listening. If you want to contact us, you can find our podcast on Twitter at Guardian Pod. You can find me at ATFlory.
You can find me at Squeaky Pig.
And take a look for hashtag Guardian Project Pod to find our posts and episodes. We like to hear from you, so send along your comments and any topics you'd like us to talk about, and we'll go over those on the next episode. You can also email us at guardianprojectpod@gmail.com. And that's all she wrote.
That is all she wrote. Underline 3 times. Period. Exclamation mark.
Postscript. End. Finn.
You put Finn in postscript?
Is that where do you put? Who writes Finn? Only at the end of a movie, right? Is where Finn goes, right?
At the end of
I've never seen Finn written.
at the end of a very pretentious movie.
Or a strongly written letter by someone probably named Karen.
Karen?
I'm gonna write a letter. I'm gonna have a BF.
I don't think you're putting Finn at the bottom of that letter. Sincerely angry, Karen.
Goodbye.
Bye.